My name is Lana Gray, and this is Universal Principles of Design for my Multimedia 301 final presentation. The first design principle I'll be talking about today is blue effects. Blue effects is a set of cognitive and behavioral effects triggered by the exposure to the color blue. Blue invokes feelings of openness and creativity, and it also signals friendliness, approachability, and peacefulness. As you can see from the two logos below, both utilize blue effects. Both are social media apps, and Blue Effects helps them invoke the feeling of openness and inclusivity within their app. Here's my original website. As you can see here, there's a lot of yellow. However, after reviewing the yellow effects video, I learned that yellow invokes the feelings of weakness and cowardice. And although yellow does command attention, those are not the qualities I want people to think of when they see my site. Also, with the use of legibility, the yellow and white in some of the text is not very easy to read. So I decided to use blue effects. As you can tell, this site just seems more open and it just invokes more peaceful feelings instead of this jarring yellow color. And with legibility, you can tell, you can read all the words in comparison to this yellow text. The use of blue effects, you can very much see it in this site, especially with this cloud background. The blue sky makes my site just seem a lot more open, and it just seems much better than this first site. So the next design principle I'll be talking about is progressive subtraction. Progressive subtraction is the systematic and deliberate simplification of a design over the course of its product lifecycle. It can be seen in many companies' logos who needed to evolve to look more modern. As you can see below, here is the Nike logo. At first, they decided to keep the name in the logo. However, as time went on, Nike's iconic swoop has become so recognizable that they don't even need the name in the logo anymore. And even with this progressive subtraction of taking the name out, it has made the logo seem more modern and more sleek. Here is the original Sprouts logo. As you can tell, it just seems very dated, especially with this wooden texture they overlaid it with. It just doesn't really feel like a logo, and it's just not very modern. Especially with this top section with the fruits, you don't really need that because it says farmer's market, and everyone knows at a farmer's market, there's going to be fruits and vegetables. So the imagery of all this fruit at the top isn't really needed. Also, the big S in the front doesn't really serve any purpose. So with those in mind, I decided to use progressive subtraction to improve the logo. Here is the new logo. As you can tell, I decided to take out the big S in the front and decided just to keep it all on one line. And I decided to take out the dated wood background, and all the fruits at the top weren't needed, so I decided to input a Sprouts logo at the top instead. The Sprouts logo encompasses all the fruits because all fruits start as a sprout anyway, so all those fruits are represented with that one image of the sprout. I feel like this logo seems much more modern, and it's just a lot sleeker than this first logo you see here. So the next design principle I'll be talking about is the 5 hat racks. The 5 hat racks is 5 different ways you can organize information. Those 5 different ways are alphabetical, category, continuum, location, and time. As you can see here, there are 2 different festival posters. The first one, Coachella. At the top, you can see Childish Gimbo, and it said the next one will be Janelle Monáe, 1975, and DJ Snake. The order that they're going with is continuum. They're listing their artists by how big they are in the state right now. And although this is a good way to advertise the big names on your lineup, it's hard to find a specific artist you want to see because it's all based on how they perceive the artist to be. Right next to it, we have the EDC lineup. And instead of opting for the continuum way to organize it, they use alphabetical. To me, alphabetical just seems more easier, and it's just easier to find the artist that you want to look for instead of this other approach with continuum. In that regards, here is the table of contents for the universal principles of design. As you can see, there's nothing that really pops out here at the beginning. However, as I was looking through all the design principles and trying to figure out which ones I wanted to do my projects on, I found that the order of the design principles are not really in a specific order. At first, I thought they were using continuum because I noticed that the red, black, and white effects were all together in one section. However, there are still other color effect design principles that are not next to them, such as the blue effect, the green effect, and the yellow effect. All of those are placed in a random section on the list of design principles. So I decided to look more and see what type of order they tried to put their principles in. But I just couldn't find any similarities in how they ordered it. Everything just seems to be in a random order. And although at few points they try to do alphabetical, it's still just very random. So here is the improved table of contents. As you can see, I've put it in alphabetical order, and it just seems more easier to find the specific design principle you want to look for instead of having to search for archetypes and then you end up over here in between MAF and basis and ratio, which it doesn't really seem like it should go there. I feel like this alphabetical order is just easier to the eye and it's just easier to find stuff. So I suggest they change it to be alphabetical or have a sorter at the top where you can have the option to sort all the design principles in alphabetical order. Thank you, and that was my presentation on the universal principles of design.